Hey, what's up, guys? This is T-Bone here. Apologies for missing the planned stream yesterday. And so I'm doing a makeup one right now. And what I wanted to do today, is talk about where things are with the game. And let me actually reduce this a little bit. Hold on a second. Let me move this, change this a little bit. There you go. So what I wanted to do is talk about. Well, I want to spend today's episode or today's stream focusing on deck building exercises based on what we've got. I'm going to talk about the event structure, and I'm also going to talk about just in general where things are and comparing where we are right now with where we were back in Generation 2 days. So we got people joining us here right now. We got Chris and Tigress, Noelia, Vishal, Dawn, Deanna, and Do. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much. I don't expect this to be too long of a stream, and it isn't going to be quite a rant like I did the last time. However, I do need to be very clear about where I am at with the game right now, and it is still just isn't great. And there are probably people at this point who feel that things aren't as bad as they seem. But I think in general, the sentiment here is just that it's just not as fun. And there are reasons for it. And I'm going to talk about reasons why it isn't fun. And I'm hoping that this could be used as a way to get the message across so that we could, tweak it or hopefully change it to the point where we can really enjoy the event again. And so thanks everybody for coming here. And so this is where I'm at right now. I just finished the first two maps and I'm on map 3 right now. And I've got to say that, based on what I'm seeing, a lot of people are having a really hard time once they get to map 3, and some people may even be having a hard time at map 2. And the reality is the bosses are hitting so hard now, you need to have revive or you need to have turn delay. And from that perspective, it does require you to really think about, some differences in your deck, setup, so that you have to do some deck building. And so there is some component of it. But if you look at the actual boss arena itself, look at where we are. So we've managed to push our guild boss up to 223, 224 now. But this is like, we don't have people in our guild that has a event team. And so I'm going to show you a couple of deck ideas that I've sort of played with. I'm going to use this stream to try to work out a couple of decks and to sort of see what we can do. Unfortunately, I have not been able to come up with any decks that could work with one key to help take down the easy solo boss health, right? Like, the expectation isn't to take it out. My hope was to try and find a way to use one key to take down, a decent amount of damage so that as a guild, we could take it out together. However, the boss hits so hard that you basically die right away. So you need a revive. And once you revive, you still need to do turn delay. So then that's another card that you need to use for turn delay. Then after that, the boss casts armor, which basically is impossible to deal any damage if you don't dispel it. So you need to bring in a card that dispels armor. Once you've taken care of those three, then you can think about cards that can actually deal damage. Okay? And so the ideal is if you can actually get all three of those elements in one. And I'm going to show you the first one. So I'm going to be showing you a combination of cards that uses previous, like Generation 3 cards ultimate forms, as well as also I'm going to try out with decks that don't have the ultimate form. And then we're going to talk about what this really means for our current meta. Okay, what does this mean for the game, and really where we are at and why this just isn't as fun. So here's the first, here's an attempt. This is a failed attempt at trying to take down the boss at 224. This is not a medium boss, it's just a regular boss. And I thought that I could use Daihomaru and the fact that it has, the Grail mechanic So right, so like this actually has has a power up that actually heals for 20% of your recovery for every stack while it's active, and you can go up to 15 stacks. So I thought that maybe I could use this plus adding a couple of water scepters to increase the overall heal. And I even threw in there, a Festivus Maximus with its increased health. Nothing worked. Okay, so basically I could survive for about 4 hits, and then I die. So I can't survive long enough for my power up to expire to create the power gems, and then so I threw in Tanu. So Tanu is a healer, and it actually makes it a really good. It actually makes it a really good healer, so you can actually survive longer. But then the problem is, if you don't take out the armor, you can't deal damage. So Vishal, I'm going to talk about why I think it's a bad idea to make Festivus the lead all the time. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the leader bonus, it will give you 300% damage and 600% health for all water noble killer heroes. So if you have noble killer cards, that's great. You should use it as a leader. But if you don't, in this particular case, I only have one. So if I do this, if I switch this to be leader right now, what happens is all the other 4 cards get 0 benefit. And so that actually turns out to be worse. I'll get less health and I will have less damage. So I'm going to show you the deck that I did use that actually did work out well. And I think it's this one. So this is the case where I'm using Festivus as a leader. And this is a situation where you want to now look at the front of the cards. Okay, the easiest way to think about it is you look at the front of the cards where it says Noble Killer. You want to look for it saying Noble Killer in front of the card to know that it's going to get boosted. So in a lot of ways, this has become a little bit easier to know whether or not your cards will get boosted. Simply look at the front, and if your card says Noble Killer, then you should use it. If it doesn't say it, so for example, like this is a deck that was from the from the Water Slayer deck, and we're gonna take a look at the water cards. So if you take a look at the Water Highborn cards, and this is where like deck building and sort of thinking about how to build up a deck is sort of being reset. And so that's why I want to spend a little bit of time to talk about what this means. And so right now we've got a type of, it was Highborn. And if you look at these cards, so this one is, Noble Killer, and these are the Master Collection cards in Ultimate Form and Ultra Rare, but then look at the event card. The event card does not have Noble Killer. Neither does the support card. So that means even though they're from the same deck, because they don't say Noble Killer, they will not get boosted. Okay? And so this is something that you have to be very careful about if you're using a previous generation, I guess Generation 3 Ultimate Form. But if you do have it, right? So in this case, I'm able to use this card, and I could also use True Luminescence. So this was an Ultimate Form that I created a couple of events ago. You guys saw that using the Proving Ground coins. So she's still viable. She actually is very viable in this particular case because she works well with Festivus Maximus. And then for my 5th card, I put in the shiny Master Collection card. True Luminescence also dispels armor. So she has, she gives you an Ultimate Form boost, and she also has a counter skill for dispel armor. So she actually works out really well. And in this deck, though, I can't actually do 3 keys, 1 key. I have to do 3 keys. So I'm going to show you what I'm capable of doing against the bigger boss, even though we're not going to be able to take it out. So let's go, and I'll show you how to play this type of deck. Now you're going to have to excuse me because I'm playing on I'm playing on this device right here, so I'm not really holding it in my hand. But take a look, and so this is where using the support card as a leader and also putting a second support card does come in handy. You can see how much health there is. And this deck actually requires a lot of fast fingers. Like you have to be able to match your cards really fast. And there is basically the heal that's coming from the support cards, 2% per card of the max heal. So this actually will heal you just enough. Okay, like heals you just enough so that you don't die. But basically, what you have to do is you have to do a couple of things. You have to constantly match your gems so that you can build up some intensity, and you also have to make sure that you activate your cards as soon as you can so that you get the heal from your Master Collection card and the ultimate form as well. And so there is, the this is kind of like back in the day when we had to do a lot of when we were playing a lot with a Halloween type cards where they had a 7-turn cooldown. So basically you would, do a match and then you have to wait for 6 turns before you can activate your cards again. It's kind of like that. You have to do some really fast matches. And right now, this is actually, I'm going a lot slower than I normally could. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to activate everything again. And you want to try and save a few open slots. So you don't want to activate both support cards actually, so you can actually stop the clock a little faster. But you can see I'm actually able to deal decent damage, but I'm not actually going to be able to deal enough damage to take out the boss, but I can deal just enough to chip it down for my teammates, right? So we're going to keep going here, and we're going to try to build it up to 300 skill points. Intensity at this point doesn't actually make a difference. Like there's nothing that we're going to be able to benefit from in terms of intensity, right? So it doesn't actually matter here. What we're hoping for is we're hoping to get to 300 skill points so that we can actually create the ultimate gem. All right, and right now I'm going really slow because playing on this device here, I actually have a hard time seeing the gems. So I'm not even going to be able to do nearly as much as I could have. So let's go and see how much damage we can deal with this particular attack. So this is sort of like almost the maximum, and because I'm not even anywhere near getting my 300 skill points just yet. So I think I might be able to do another one. So I basically have to wait 4 turns before I'm able to activate the cards. But I'm not going to be able to activate my luminescence, right? And also I'm also not able to activate any of my I'm sorry, I couldn't actually match my gems correctly. So we'll see how much damage we can do. But if you take a look, I was able to chip it down, I think around 9 trillion, maybe a little less, 8 trillion maybe. But I was able to do about 15 with this team. So I was able to do 9 trillion here. So with this setup, and in terms of the relics here, I just basically used whatever relics I could. And this is actually a relic that has an immunity. So I'm actually getting an immunity because I was chasing after the Nicole deck. If you remember, I got nothing but relics. And so I do get 1 immunity for the first turn, although in a 3-key situation with this particular setup, I have enough health that I don't have to worry about it too much. But this is a team that has 2 ultimate forms in it. This is a team that has 2 ultimate forms in here, all right? And so because I invested in Generation 3 for these ultimate forms, and they totally did get nerfed, but because I have them, I'm still able to at least deal a little bit of damage. The problem is, this is not something that other people will have. Not everybody's going to have this kind of deck. Not everybody has ultimate form. So what happens if in that situation? And to answer your question, Vishal, I did not get the event main. For my 25% chance hero, I ended up getting the Dragon Ultra Rare. I gotta say, I'm happy that at least I didn't get the Malakastra, which is the event card of the same event. But basically, this is what I got. So if you take a look at my water card, and we'll look at the age. The card that I got was... Wait. Oh, because it's Slayer? No, water... This one is the card I got. So I ended up getting the Sunken Savior. If you look at the skill, it doesn't do me any good. It basically creates, creates water power gem. It does help me with, Daihomaru, but it doesn't really help me that much. And so I sort of started looking at all kinds of other options. And so let's see, Anna. The problem is for free to play, we don't have previous Water Slayer, and yes. And that is a big problem. A lot of people don't necessarily have cards. But what I will say here is this. Because of the change to the leader skill, where this will boost all noble killers. So if you look at the skill again, right? Skill boosts all water noble killers. It doesn't matter whether it's Slayer or Commander anymore. So you don't really need to use Legend cards anymore. You can use this support card to boost both Slayer and Commander decks. So in the future, if you did invest in either the Slayer or the Commander versions of the previous Gen 3 deck, you can still at least use it. So to me, that's at least sort of one of the saving graces here. So for those of us who did manage to get the ultimate form, it can still be used. It's just that damage wise, it isn't going to be any better. It isn't going to be any more than the support card itself, right? Unless you've awakened it or something. It's just that the Slayer decks, which I typically invest more in, I can at least use that in the future. But it doesn't make it any fun. Like, I don't sort of thinking back to back in the day when I had to really rely on intensity. It was basically like every boss I had to spend good 5 to 10 minutes and really going as fast as I could. And from a challenge perspective, that was a lot. That was interesting. That was a lot of fun. You sort of had to compete with your guild mates to see who can actually swipe fastest. But I feel like those days are over for me. This is completely a reset to the Generation 2 days when your cards are basically not powerful enough unless you have the full deck. But, at the time, it was okay because the cards didn't have this disparity of 10 times affinity bonus, 14 times killer bonus. You didn't have any of that. So people who got the good decks, they were able to kill the bosses faster, but the boss health was not insanely high like it is today. So what happens here now is we're reset back to the Generation 2 days where it's hard for us to get the deck, so we have to rely on, our creative deck building skills. And we have to try our best to go through the bosses, and it's not easy anymore, and that's fine, but they've made it too hard. It's way too difficult. Like just trying to get through a regular guild boss, I have to 3-key it. You couple that with the fact that the key drops are super rare now. It's hard to get the keys. Like, how does a free-to-play player finish or even help? Right? Like if you want to help as a free to play, you have to use 3 keys. Like you basically, if you use 1 key, you just go in, you die. Like you don't even register any damage, right? But if you use 3 keys, even with 3 keys, it's difficult to stay alive because of how difficult the boss is. And so you quickly run out of keys. And once you run out of keys, then what do you do? And so that is sort of the situation we're in right now, where they've introduced the bosses that are way too hard for most players. For players that have had really good decks with a lot of ultimate forms in the past, they could probably deal with it okay, right? Because they will have something to fall back on. For people who have had a hard time getting ultimate forms or generally is a free-to-play player, they're now sort of stuck in the situation where they will have to tag the guild bosses to get some points, or they just don't participate. And that's the situation I see right now, and that's where I'm having a hard time. That's why I wanted to do this video to talk about what are some of the options that you could use if you are having a hard time, if you don't have the ultimate forms. So let's go and build a deck that hopefully can help us. Okay, so let's look at the elements, right? So the elements we need to deal with right now is we have to deal with armor, and we have to deal with turn delay and heal. So I haven't used Urheart. I could get it back, but I'm not sure if you're using Urheart that is reforged. Isaac, thank you for joining us from Guan. And let's see, Sleepless. Yeah, so I definitely see a lot of people are still really unhappy. Totally understand. I do have Clark Urheart. I think what it does, it gives you full heal and also like a couple of turn delays, right? So that's one option. Although I can't remember, I thought it has like 7 turn. Isn't it 7 turns? And so, or is this the reforged version? I can take a look, right? So So let's build one first, and then we will build another one. So for heal, I'm using Tanu. Okay, so I'm using Tanu as the healer. There's other options. You can use Aladdin. You can use other healers as well. And for revive, I actually used one of the cards that was from the last collections. Like if you did a season, then you will actually have this card that gives you a free revive. Okay, so this is the Bone Grinder. So the Bone Grinder, and I believe the other card that has it also is the Volleying one. You can also get a revive. So Beach Bum Bone Grinder gives you a revive, and it's a water commander, so it does at least give you a little bit of help. And if you don't have any other good water commander power gem spawners, the only cards you can really fall back on is Daihomaru. But the problem is if you use Daihomaru, you don't have, like, this deck right now doesn't have any it doesn't actually have any Armor Dispel. And Armor Dispel will kill this deck completely. And so what now you need to do is you need to go and put in a Water Bounty Hunter, which is going to be Keta. Okay, and so now there's no more room for Daihomaru. Now, if I had gotten the ultra rare of the other deck of this deck, that would have been good, at least, because then I could have stuck him in there. It's got the 10 times commander bonus, and it could have given me the power up as well in much less time, but I don't. And so with what I've got right now, this is the card that I need to do. So TG, if you wanted to take a look at the Urheart, I will get it afterwards. I will dust my turn. You know, I can actually dust him right now because I don't think I need him anymore. So turn delay is an option, but let's go ahead and get rid of this card, and then we can sort of see what options we have. So this is the other card that you can get from the Codex. You can just go to the Codex, look for Statch Harbor Brute, and you can always farm him in the campaign. And let's see, Sustina Stardust, Lilith the Firehawk here. You always watch my videos. Thank you for joining me for the live video today. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can do to make a deck that is going to work against at least a small boss. Okay, even if it's 3 keys, even if it's a small boss, I think there is something to be said about being able to take out a boss with your help. Okay, so let's go ahead and sell this. And the card that Vishal was talking about is the Urheart. So it's going to be a water. I think. What is it called again? Magitech. So it's going to be a Magitech card. And this is a card that you used to pull a lot when you open decks, and a lot of people would say this is such a trash card. We don't want this, but it's the Overclocked Urheart, and this card has a skill that fully heals yourself, and then increases the number of turns until the target attacks by 1. So it's a turn delay, and it fully heals you, but it has a 7-turn cooldown, so it is actually going to be difficult if you don't have any other healers in place. And so what I can say right now is at some point you're going to reach a boss level where it's just too difficult to one key. And so we're going to try this one out. We're going to go in here, and we're going to see how much damage we can deal against a normal boss at level 224. It still has 1 trillion health, so it's not like it's nothing, right? And so this is the deck I'm going to try and use, and the elements that we're focused on right now is Armor Dispel. There are other cards that dispel armor, but like I'm sort of working as if you don't actually have an ultimate form of any sort. Okay, and Beach Bum Bone Grinder, you can also use as I said, the Volleying one. So you can take a look here. The Volleying one is Water Special type, but it's a little bit weaker because it doesn't actually create as many power gems, right? So this one also gives you a revive, and what it'll do is it'll create power gem 2s as opposed to the Volleying one, which I think creates a power gem 4s. So anyways, so what we got here is, you know, the revive, Armor Dispel, and then the heal. 2 generation 2 cards, 3 generation 3s. Let's see. So the volume one actually has armor dispel. If it does, that's actually a little bit better. Let me take a look. I see. See, that's good. That's why you guys are here to help me out. So Bone Grinder doesn't have it, does he? Okay, so he does also. So Bone Grinder also dispels armor, so I don't really need Kata. So now I can bring another card that can at least help me with, some. I guess then in that case, I would probably then want to do this. I'll probably want to swap for this card because now Festivus has four times damage, so it could at least help. And I think I might be able to see. I don't even know if I want to use the relic that I got. To be honest with you, with this type of deck right here, I suppose what I could do is, if it's four times, is it better to boost that one card? Well, let's just do it. Let's just get the Noble Killer relic in here, and so let's at least start with this. Okay, so I put in also a Keta spell to give me a little bit of health, and I put in a Water Scepter to help also with the heal, although with a Tanu in there, it might not be as necessary. So let's try 3 keys, and you can see I've been using up a lot of my keys. So let's try this, and we'll see how this works out. So Renee, it does give you 6 times damage and health boost, but it doesn't do anything if your cards do not have Noble Killer bonus. So you have to make sure that you look at the front of the card. It is going to say Noble Killer, and if it does, then you will get the boost, but if it doesn't, then you won't get any boost from there. And so if you have more than a couple of the event teams, then definitely this is going to be just fine for you. So you can see here, Tanu is actually healing me just fine. And right now what I'm doing is I'm building up the stacks of power up, but it's going to be a little bit slower because I only have 2 Daihomarus. Having 3 actually will help out a lot. And let's just make sure that we, continually match gems. So the goal here is to get to 15 because that is the maximum that we can get to. And right now we're going to, you basically have to depend on armor dispel and also the heal. And this is what I'm talking about, where this is kind of like back in the day where you have to really go as fast as possible. And this is going a little bit slower than I would have liked. So why did it go? Oh, did I miss out on I guess I was focused on talking and I actually didn't realize I had timed out. So my mistake. I'm gonna try this again. Let's get to if I have time. If not, we'll try 12 and see what where we're at. But I think I need to be at 15 in order to deal sufficient damage. So we're at 8, and I need to do this a few more times. All right, and so 475, and we're at 8 stacks. I'm gonna have to go to 12. I might have to end at 14, to be honest, with 4 seconds remaining. I can't see the gems. That's my problem right now. I can't see the gems, and so I can't see where I'm going with this. Jeez. This is just bad. Like right now, I couldn't see where I'm going with it, and so I'm losing out on this. So there's one more. There you go. I can use that. Okay, so we can at least see how things go, and you can help yourself stop the clock a little bit if you activate the skills. If you can activate the skills ahead of time, you can actually stop the clock up beforehand. So this is basically with as many power gems as I could actually muster, and I barely did any damage. Okay, this is 1 trillion health, and with me doing 3 keys attack, that was 70 billion. So if I did this 13 more times, 14 more times, then I'll be able to take out the boss. So 13 other players in the guild can do something similar, and we should be able to take it out. So this is a deck without the ultimate form. It does have only 3 generation 3 cards plus the Festivus, so that is the reason why it's dealing less damage. But we kind of have to do that. We kind of have to do it in order to survive. I don't know how else we can actually deal enough damage with no power gem spawners. So yeah, Renee, the Combat Crew is actually a really strong deck, and I showed it earlier using the using this card right here. So it gets boosted. And the more stars you have, obviously, the more power you're going to get out of it. And you can see here it does have Noble Killer. And so in this particular case, I actually set my Festivus Maximus as the leader because they all benefit from it. So what if you actually have, what if we switch this out, right? If we switch this out so that we actually have, let's at least use, like, let's not be too stingy. And if we were to give ourselves like a mixture, right? So let's say we had luminescence, all right? And so let's go power. Can we do something with that? And so we still need the heal, but we can do this now, right? So we can actually do this, and we can do this. So this is at least going to give us some additional power up. But if you take a look at the water noble killers, I think skill, they took away the noble killer filter. That's, oh, there it is. That's the type. Okay, so water noble killer. So here's all my water noble killer cards. And I also have timeless lovers. That's another card that I could use technically, but that's it, right? From a commander card, because it ate my support and my ultra rare card and my master collection card. When I crafted the true luminescence, I didn't get those cards back because I didn't have the souls for them. So like, but if you had something like this, if you could work with something like this, at least this should work. Okay. And so now it's a little bit different. So we have, probably want to do more Slayer, Water Slayer, actually. So we're going to want to use the Slayer cards, and this one is actually going to be this. And I'm not sure that I'm even going to bother with the Noble Killer Relic. So this is going to be my attempt number 2. I think this one should be just fine. Again, going to try with 3 keys. This is me using all my keys this evening, just trying to, you know, find a team that works. Okay. And so right now what I'm doing right now is basically getting my cards into sort of like an even playing field, and I didn't even have enough gems to fill up the board. And so because I didn't have enough Slayers, right? But we're gonna try this. We're gonna try this out and see how this goes, and see how much damage we can actually deal like this. Although the problem is, I'm not sure, but it looks like I can do okay because at least the true luminescence dealt like quite a bit of damage on her own. And so now we gotta wait 5 turns for all of the cards to be available again. And once again, I cannot see the cards. I cannot see the gems. Oh my god, seriously? So I'm gonna have to use this, but we're gonna wait for 3 more turns. And we're gonna do 2 more turns because we need to wait for luminescence, true luminescence to activate, and I need to activate actually 1 more just to make sure that I can get him activated as well. And so now we're gonna activate again, and I don't have a lot of commander. I don't have enough commander skill points either to get more power gems out of my true luminescence, but you can see that it deals a lot more damage now, right? So we're gonna be able to finally take out this boss, at least if I can actually match all my gems in time. This is the problem with playing live here. I'm actually not able to see my gems right here, and so you have to excuse me as I focus more on looking at my phone. And so 1 second here, and I'm just gonna do this. So like sometimes if you need to stop the clock a little bit, just activate one of the cards and you'll actually be able to stop the card. Okay, so this looks like I was 1 turn off, but this should probably still deal enough. We need 24 billion. We should be able to get that. So there you go. With this setup, 3 keys, we managed to finally take out a regular boss. with 1 trillion health. This is with 3 keys, but it also required me to put in the true luminescence. And so that's what deck building is like now. And I couldn't find a solution for free to play players without an ultimate form. And so I'm curious what your experience is like right now. But the takeaway here is, while our ultimate form cards are indeed completely nerfed based on the changes here, they still have a place in events. They work well, whether it's Slayer or Commander. They work well with the at least the current event support cards. It is it is something that you can use because it boosts both of them. You no longer need to look for the legend cards to make that work. You can actually use the event cards so you can get that. So there's at least that bonus. But then the bosses hit so hard that you're sort of forced to scramble. If you don't have enough of the event team, then you don't really have a lot of options. So to me, I kind of wanted to use this opportunity to take a look and sort of see what I can do, and also kind of show you where things are at. And this is what's different compared to Generation 2. In Generation 2, yes, we could still tag and we could still just, not worry about it, and we can still have other people play with. But the problem is, right now, not a lot of people have these kind of decks. And I don't know that I want to just be a tagger and just just not bother with it when it comes to like commander events or something. That I want to be able to kill bosses like I have been, and I want to be able to build decks using other cards. Like, I was successful before because there wasn't such a huge health to damage disparity, right? They introduced bosses that damage a ton because they needed to cater to the updates to the cards. But because of that, remember, back in Generation 3, our event cards and our support cards generally really sucked. Okay, support cards in Generation 3 and the event cards generally have been really, really bad until just recently. So cards that are going to have value still, and remember, this is the reason why I said that this was a really good card to go after, would be, is it corrupt? Was it actually corrupt? No, it's not corrupt. So it was an earth deck, right? And I can't remember what they were. So if you look at the earth cards, remember when we did the divine, with the devilish duel and the count. So let's say you don't have the ultimate form, but you have the count. Come next commander event, you could still use this. Like, this will give you 27 power gem 2s. So this card's still relevant, right? And so it is going to be a saving grace, at least, that some of these later ultimate form cards or the master collection card, they actually help. And like even just the event card like Frankie is still okay, right? Because they can give you at least more power gems. But before, like, look at this ultimate, like, look at this card, look at Malacostra, right? If you look at water, and this was a dragon card, right? Water dragon. So if you look at Malacostra, it creates 4, I think, four gems, and it does get double if you have the overflow buff. So I could use this, right? That can give me 8 power gems, and I can get a couple of additional gems in here, but it's just not gonna help, right? And so it is going to be extremely difficult. And I think I saw somebody asking for some help as well. I can definitely help and take a look, although I'm not sure. It'll depend really on your cards there. So let's take a look at someone else. I'm going to use this opportunity and also just trying to help someone. Like, I've done what I can, I think, with the cards I have, at least in trying to find a free to play option. I did come up with two different types of decks that you saw, but they both involve using the previous water noble killer hero. And so that is something, at least if you had it, hopefully it helps you and sort of gain an idea on how you can play that. And so let's go and take a look at Nano's deck and see what we can do. And let's see any other comments in here. So your deck has a complete pink of 15. So Renee, I think that's good because that means that even if it depends on whether or not you have the current event deck, like even if you don't, having those investments from before is still going to be helpful because you're still going to have a better damage output than just a regular support card. Dijaya, how are you doing? Okay, so let's take a look at your deck right now. Remember, if you don't have your deck in the first slot, then I can't help. So I'm taking a look to see what it could be. So if like you could actually use this deck right now because this is a noble killer deck. And so the only challenge you have here is you don't have enough commander boost, so you might as well put in the support card as a leader if you're going to use this. But again, I don't know which deck you're using, so this is the deck you're using, right? So you're using Aquaman's squad, you're using the Beast Breakers. So this, you'll notice that Festivus Maximus actually only boosts itself. So remember, what you want to do is you want to not use this card as a leader because you don't actually have any noble killer outside of it. All of these cards are actually beast killers. And so you want to use any of these other cards as a leader, and then you should see your damage go up. In terms of health, this is what's interesting, right? So if you look at this, this will give you 6 times the health. So that basically is 96,000. But then you miss out on these health here. But then this one is 3 times. That's 12 plus 18. So let's see. I think actually health wise is an interesting one. I have to look into this, but for sure for damage, you're losing on damage. But in terms of health, if you look at how tanky this card is, and if you think about you're doing it's 6 times health and then 5 times on top of that, it's basically 30 times health. So play around and see in terms of health if you really lose out on the health, but for sure you lose out on the damage. Okay, so my comment here about losing out on health may not be completely accurate just because this one has 600 times health, but in terms of damage, it definitely will only boost itself. Okay, and because it's only 300, you're better off using the Beast Breakers as the leader to at least gain some benefit, and so your Festivus will deal even more damage from there. So Susitna, thank you very much. And take care. Have a good evening. Zuzu MacDuck, thank you very much. And now, so I don't know if this is the deck now that you're currently using, but that will be the recommendation that I have. And so that's what a lot of us are sort of facing right now is whether or not to use the support cards lead. Eventually, we'll get to a place where the cards you're going to build up an arsenal of cards, and they're going to power each other up. But until then, make sure that you're looking at the cards, whether it says Noble Killer or not, to decide whether and see how many you have to decide whether or not it's going to help you. And the best thing is to just set up a team and take. And I'll definitely be doing this as well. I'll be definitely doing a test to see how much health am I getting when I have the support card by itself, and how much health am I getting when I flip it around. But damage wise, I can tell you that it is going to make a difference. Okay. And Vishal, thanks very much for joining. Hope to see you later. And Joseph Scott, it does help. The Proving Grounds is going to help you get the older Ultimate Forms, but make sure you only get ones that actually is still relevant. Don't get ones that is going to be really terrible just for the sake of getting it, because you want an Ultimate Form card that is actually going to help you provide power gems. You're basically using that for that purpose. Mudpick 32. So I can help you take a look as well. So Mudpick, I'm not sure if I've helped you before, so thanks for joining the stream. This is your first time. And okay, so I see that you're using the Nicole card, right? So using Nicole and also using Barbarossa. So Barbarossa is unfortunately one of the most terrible support cards ever to have existed because it gives you 0 benefit. It does absolutely nothing unless you have the event card, the Master Collection card, or the Ultimate Form, which I don't think you have. And so this card is actually just completely useless in many situations. That is the harsh truth. I have the ultimate rare for this deck, and I couldn't use anything because I only have the ultra rare card and the support card, and it basically is completely useless for me. And so let's see what other cards that you could potentially use. I already see that you have the Water Slayer deck. And so let's take a look at your cards in terms of power. So you've got your two Festivus Maximus, and you do have Queen of Arms, which is an ultra rare card, and so she is going to at least give you, power gems, right? 2 power gem 4s, and it also applies that to other Water Slayers, so you could get more power gems just with her activated. And in terms of, and then you have, unfortunately you don't have any other ones. Like this card won't get boosted, but she's still a card that will benefit from the battle skill. Now the challenge is you need to deal with, depending on what boss you're going after. If you're going after guild boss, you're gonna have to deal with health issues, and you're gonna have to deal with armor issues. I don't think either of these cards will handle armor, right? So this one dispels dodge. Let's see, Gunnery Master Falana will dispel might, and the support card here is going to dispel panic. So your biggest problem is going to be armor, actually, right? So if you wanted to do armor counter, you're gonna have to use either, so I guess using Dima isn't a bad choice. So you can add her as a secondary, you can actually add her as a secondary card, and then you could have her create power gems and also benefit from your ultra rare card, right? So I would go with that. And now if you have those 4 cards, you may be okay. You might still need a healer. So I would start with those 4 and see, depending on where you are level wise, I would go with 2 Maximus. I would go with, again, it's going to be the cards I recommend. I would recommend you going with Queen of Arms and also going with Dima. So I'll go with these 2 cards. Go with your 2 Festivus Maximus. And then for your 5th and final card, so Nicole gives you immunity, but I don't think she heals. Oh, she does heal. 5 turns cooldown for heal. You could try putting in Nicole, for example, to gain immunity and then also heal, to see if you can survive long enough to then deal enough damage to take out the boss, right? So with this, you need to, you can create 3 power gem 4s, which isn't going to be as helpful, but it's still something, right? So you can use all of this to sort of try to build something along with your relics to do some damage. I think based on what I'm seeing card wise, this might be your best chance at dealing damage, but you're gonna have to do 3 keys for that. Okay, and so that is what I would recommend for you, Mudpig. Hopefully that works out for you. And so let's see. I'm just kind of catching up on the relic here. Not relic. Catching up on the chat here. Let's see. So James, you can't believe the utter silence. Yeah, it's what I will say is I've experienced this before, where something comes out, a change comes out, and the community is pretty much in uproar, and it's a bad change. Nobody likes it. But if the dev team, and when I say dev team, really there are people that make decisions. The decision makers, they generally will try to take a wait and see approach to see if they can get more data. Okay, I want to get more data and sort of see, like, how are things really across the player base, what's the impact, what's the negative impact here, and they're going to see something. And we may not hear anything until end of this event. We may not even hear anything until end of the next event. I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going to happen, but what I'm saying is this has happened. But this is the reason why I waited a couple of days too. I wanted to give them a couple of days to see what feedback they will give. Now, I will also let you know that I was involved in, you know that I'm involved in these insight chats, and they haven't said a whole lot. I'll be honest with you, they haven't said a whole lot to any of us so far. But one thing they did tell us is that they are looking at all the feedback and they're discussing the feedback. So that's all I can say. That's all I can relay. But it doesn't give me really high. It doesn't make me feel any better knowing that the event still is really hard to play. Look at my placement, and this was thanks to us pushing on the guild boss. Otherwise, I'll be down in the pit right now. Look at my solo boss. It should tell you something. Whenever I've played, you know that whenever I'm doing these streams, you know where my solo boss levels usually are at, and you can see where it's at right now. And so I just haven't. There's not a lot of motivation to really play, and so that is something that I feel is really the big difference. Like I've never seen such a high, such a low morale really because of the changes. And even when I tried, and I'm trying really hard right now, just and I'm somebody who has spent and has decent decks. I'm having a hard time. Nobody in my guild is really motivated right now, but we are still sticking it out. Like I still have a really good set of people. We're still at 29 players. So I'm really thankful for the guild, and I'm sure many of you are in the situation where the guild has been really great for you, and so I'm still very thankful for that. But this is very different. This is not the same as Generation 2, and even if it is the same as Generation 2, we went through iterations and iterations of enhancements because Generation 2 absolutely sucked for anyone who didn't spend a lot of money. And so even for people who spent a lot of money, there are the packs. I will come back to this. Packs are the worst things right now in this game. It absolutely is atrocious. It is the most atrocious thing that could be in this game right now. If they don't change it, then we shouldn't buy into it. I've heard too many stories now of people who decided to go for it anyway and get punished for it. Where you're going to get punished is trying to get the ultra rare in the ultra rare pack. You're also going to get punished trying to get this elusive material that isn't guaranteed in any of the tiers, trying to get the ultimate relic. There's now 2 places for you to get punished, and I just don't think it's fair. So we're going to get punished from there, and for those of us who don't really spend into the deck, we could wait. We could basically try to build up our team over the course of 50 weeks. But honestly, who's going to do that at this point? We've gone through all the enhancements. We've gone through Vault. We've sort of seen what it's like when free-to-play players, low-budget players, high-end players, they can all have fun. We've seen what that's like. And then to throw it all back to the Stone Ages and expect us to have fun with it, I don't imagine that to be the case. And so this is my attempt at trying to give the feedback. Like I've tried. I'm giving this a try to build some good decks, and I'm hoping that some of the ideas that I've provided can at least help you be successful in the guild bosses and your solo bosses. I think that there's still some viability, but this is going to continue to be hard over the next while, okay, unless things change. And so the best recommendation I could give is to continue to look for opportunities where to save. Okay, don't go deep unless you have the ultra rare card. So the first thing you should try and do is see if you can get an ultra rare card. And if you happen to have all the other collections, like if you collected before and the only thing you're missing is that main card, then you can give the main pack a try. But with it being a tier 7 or tier 8 guarantee, I don't even remember what it is anymore. It just, it's too much of a gamble for me. But it's still, to me, like where I would like to see this is the boss attack needs to go down. It needs to go down because it's actually it's just a little bit too tough for good deck building. I'm going to say that the difficulty level being increased is good for deck building. The fact that we can mix Slayer and Commander together is good for deck building. What's not good is being one shot, right? Being one shot all the time is bad for morale. It's bad for actual deck building because you're forced again to just use a couple of the same cards anyway. And so there is tweaks that needs to be made there, and until they do that, it's not going to be very fun, and it's going to be really difficult to really come up with anything useful unless you buy the deck. And I refuse to buy the decks from here on out. So we're going to see. I'm going to continue to do my best. I'm sorry I couldn't be as useful this video. I don't have as many ideas, except for using the ultimate forms. But for those of you who do have it, know that there are options. You can even go off affinity if you wanted to. Honestly, like, you're losing it on the 10 times bonus, but it might be better than using a bunch of support cards, right? So if you just did this, and if you just change this to Noble Killer, take a look and see where your best Noble Killers are. And if you have them in Commander cards, then great. So for example, like, I might even just try and see, like, in my Fire deck could help, because I have a 3-star, three pink star Despot Despair deck that is Noble Killer, and I might be able to benefit from that. Like, I don't know, but it's just that, right now I'm just gonna keep using what I have, and I'm hoping to help you where I can. Join me in my chat. I'm also trying to provide some information there as I find decks. I will say that morale is generally low, unfortunately, but it is a really good room, and a lot of people are very helpful in there, so I'm very thankful for that. And Mount Fillmore, you're folding with your wallet, buying VIP monthly passes in the Era of Chaos. So look for me on the upcoming stream in a little bit. After this, I will be jumping into another stream. But this is basically my recommendation here. So John Wilson using 3 keys, it does last over level 150. Yeah, so right now I'm at level 222. I'm not sure if we're actually going to be able to get it to 300. Just looking at where we are right now, I'm not sure that's going to be possible. If we were to focus only on the low level boss, then we can, but as it is right now, medium bosses are already out of our attack range. And so this is where I'm at right now, and thank you so much for listening to me. And I'm sorry I couldn't be as much of a help, but I will try and see if I can come up with better ideas over the next few days or in the future events. But I'll be sticking around, and I hope that we can continue to try this out. But I can completely understand the frustration level, and this is something I will continue to provide feedback on. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. There's not a whole lot I can do except to try and find ways for us to enjoy the game again. So let's keep a positive attitude, and let's see what we can do. But again, thanks for joining me here. And we will join me in the next stream when the next event comes out. I'm curious what the Slayer is going to be like. So John Wilson, I am going to take a look and share your deck if you say it works wonders. So let's take a look. Saying John, right? If it's a team that others can use, then that's great, because I wanna make sure that we can share that with everybody as well. So what I would say here is, let's take up this opportunity and just share with as many people as we can, like the various teams that we're using with good success, things that we're doing to make sure that we are able to continue to make progress, etc., etc., etc. Let's I know that we're already doing this, but let's really get together as a community and let's really help each other out. I am so thankful for each of you. I think you guys have given me some really good support, and I think that we can do that with each other as well. So I think John Wilson, you said the first team, right? So I think your first team does also use the what we call the Final Fantasy team, or the combat ready crew. So it does work really well. So take a look. Let's share what we can do. Let's help each other out, and let's try to have fun. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much, Julie, for the kind words. And again, thank you all for your support. I look forward to seeing you in my next upcoming stream, and I will be playing a different game after this in probably 5 minutes or so. So if you're subscribed, then you'll see me. You'll see the notification and come join me then. and I'm still looking for a way to do some giveaway over the next week or so over the holidays. So thank you very much, guys. There's a lot of you out here, and so for those of you who are listening, this is going to be my final rant, if you will, my final thought about this changes in the event. Moving forward, I'm going to focus on just the game mechanics. But before I go, this change is one of the worst changes for many players. Not just because it's a change, but because this is a change that prices out most players, and because this is a change that has made it really difficult for deck building and for making progress, and in general just to have fun for those of us who are just looking to relax and to enjoy. So again, if you're listening, developers, this is my hope that we could take this into consideration and tweak it to a point where we can enjoy our decks again and to have fun and not to feel so underpowered because we haven't, spent on the decks. So that's going to be my last rant of this entire debacle. I'm going to sign off for now, and I will focus on mechanics as much as I could moving forward. So take care, and let's continue to help each other out. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I will see you next time. Peace out.